Hello and welcome to The Up. My name is Kristin Louise, and I am joined today by a good friend through She Rises Studios, Miss Carmen. Carmen, how do you say your last name? Mendel?
Maendel, yes.
Maendel. Okay, so I was almost right. Should have asked that before, but we were too busy yapping because that's what I do. I'm a professional yapper. We were just yapping, talking about all the cool things that you're going to hear about in this interview. Because honestly, my favorite part of doing these interviews for The Up has truly been having a dedicated time with each person that I'm interviewing just to get to know them. Sure, some of it happens online, yeah, but a lot of it just happens, and we're all busy, and I just appreciate you taking the time today. Not only is Carmen going to talk about her book, but we're going to talk about our fitness history, and we're going to talk about she has a whole other business like that is just in action every day with her husband, and we are both business owners and women of faith, so we've got a lot to jump into today. But thank you for your time, Carmen, and agreeing to come on.
Thank you so much for having me, Kristen.
I have known Carmen for a few months now through She Rises Studios, and it's a great little group of people there, but there's a few of us that just really have a strong faith. And every week I see in these calls these ladies that just have a bright light that are shining, and Carmen's definitely one of them. So when she started talking a few months ago about her book launch, I was like, well, I love to read, first of all. But also, just the name of your book alone, before I knew anything about it, because these calls, there's so many people, you can only get little snippets of everybody, what they're doing. Before I knew anything about what was in the book, you already had me hook, line, and sinker with the title. So can you tell me the title of your book and when it's coming out, Carmen?
Yes, it is Courageous Woman, that's singular,
Yes.
casting cares upon Jesus. And I'll just say everything has been prayed about. The
Yeah.
cover, everything, the contents of the book, the fact that it was called Woman instead of Women. I want every woman to be able to pick it up and personally relate to that book. And it's also, not excluding men. I don't want to, say I'm excluding
sure.
men here,
Yeah, yeah.
but I really wanted it to be personalized to that one person that picked up that book and read it. So that's why I chose that name.
Well, I loved the name, and I'm big on words. I'm a communications major, so, a lot of that fun stuff. We talked about my broadcasting background before the call and all that, but like just the name, and I'm an avid reader, just the name alone, it just like sparked my brain. So did you come up with that on your own? Was that a brainstorm? Tell me about the process.
That was I looked at brainstorming. I wrote down 100 different names to the book.
Oh,
And
a
this is just
hundred.
my brainstorming. Then I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and God told me the name of the book.
Okay, so it wasn't
That
like a
is
list of
that
a
is
hundred.
the truth.
Okay, I
Yes.
feel like we're already getting the juicy details. I love it. Oh, I love it. So, okay, so you have a list of 100 names.
Hmm.
And for you youngsters that are listening, I love you guys. I've got kind of a younger crowd that started kind of following along, and I love that. She didn't use ChatGPT, guys. She sat
No.
down with a pen and paper, and she
Yep, for the
wrote out
entire book.
names.
Yeah, for the entire book, I did not use ChatGPT. So
Right.
that's
And
all
if
been
you're an
prayed about my heart. Yep.
And if you're an authentic person, ChatGPT is not the devil. It's not like you can't use it to research things and to learn things. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're an author, no, you're not writing your book with ChatGPT. Like, come on. So, but here she is trying to figure out what this book. So, did you write the book first, or did you come up with the name first? What was your method?
I came up with the name first, actually.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
I know
where I
people that
had,
do it both ways. I think it's
yep,
fascinating both ways.
yep,
So you prayed on what you were going to write about, and
yep.
then you had 100 names that you came up with. That's mind-boggling to me. 100 names in your brain, and then you wake up the next day, and a completely different name is given to you by the Lord.
Exactly. And I
Wow.
got up and I wrote it down immediately because I didn't
Sure.
want to forget it.
I have a notebook by my bed. Any creative person, they know, because you'll lose it within 2 minutes. So you got to get it, like you voice record it on your phone, do whatever you have to do. Text it to yourself. I've done that before. Whatever you got to do. But yeah, so I'm creative enough to where I get woken up in the middle of the night. So as I was writing my book, because Carmen and I both have books coming out this fall, which is fun, with the same company, like super fun. Just like I love getting to meet. I think it's a true blessing to get to network and meet a lot of great women of faith and people I don't have the proximity to you. I would have never come across you if it wasn't for the internet. And I know social media gets a bad rap and things can be negative, but like the way that you and I met was literally through a Facebook group. So God bless America. I love that. And I love that I'm getting the juicy gossip before it all comes out. So I love the name of the book. So you come up with 100 names, but another name is given to you, which is just incredible. And then you're obedient. And so you use the name because that's the thing. The Lord can reveal a lot to us, but are we obedient? Do we use that or do we just move on? And I've definitely been on both sides of the boat. And later, then you get that nudge, that heart nudge of like, oh, Kristin, you knew better. You should have done this. But you're obedient. And you finish the book. How long did it take you to write it?
Okay, so I agreed to the project right at the beginning of the year.
Wow.
So January of 2025.
Of this year?
Yes. This is how I know this is of God because I humanly couldn't have done this without his strength and not my own. These projects that came about, some of the stories are going to overlap with some of the anthologies that I wrote, obviously. So that was a portion too. But God literally showed me the 3 sections to this book. Okay. So like the first 8 chapters are all my personal and stories and also my business experiences that I've had with Jesus Christ myself. And then this middle section, this is fun because he even like, as I prayed about it, who am I going to call these women to interview to be in my middle section of my book? There's 16 women. Out of those 16, I was so excited. 9 of them actually agreed that they wanted their picture, their real name, everything.
That's amazing.
And I was very, very careful to make everything authentic. So if it was a live interview, I taped it. And I went back and I took notes and I made sure everything was exactly right and everything. If it was over the phone, I also did phone interviews. And I also had ladies email me in. I created a list of Jesus questions. And I had emailed them out to, maybe somebody that didn't live locally. But it was really important to me to make sure that I followed everything exactly how I basically prayed about this, and the Lord was like, okay, you need to contact this person. You need to call them about their story. Their story needs to be heard. So that's the middle section. And I thought I was all done, Kristin. I was like, okay, 2 sections of the book, that's already a big book, with doing all that, 8 chapters and then another 4 chapters with 4 stories per chapter for 16 ladies. And he's like, no, I have a reason that I had you train ladies in the gym for 8 years, Maendel Fitness. You're going to incorporate some of these tips, tricks, strategies that you've been working and you've been helping these women way more than lose weight for 8 years. Okay.
Yes.
He's like, you're going to take these stories, these inspirational stories that I used for training them, and they're going in the book. So, it's funny. I don't even know. I think there's like 30 of them or 20 of them somewhere. It's at the end of the book, the end section. And then I added scripture for each story and I added prayer. So, but that was like the 3rd section of the book. And I think about that and, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, there's 3. And I'm like, I couldn't help but think of that analogy. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. This is, I'm being obedient to this because I felt like, wow, okay. And, if you would have asked me, hey, Carmen, would you ever write a book like a year ago? I probably would have laughed at you. Like, I came into the project of Pray Don't Panic. And I was asked, had the opportunity, to write 1 chapter in a book. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm so excited. I'm going to write a chapter. I did not know it was going to lead into 10 anthologies. And now that I would actually literally have the courage to write a book, a solo book. So There's been a lot of mentors in my life that have helped me. I explained to you earlier when we talked, Kristen, how I used to have a deathly fear of live video. I'm still not
Yes.
crazy about it, I'll be honest.
Mm.
But I also know that I can't share my message with the world
Yes.
if I don't open my mouth, even if I'm
Yes.
nervous, even if I'm afraid, it can't be said if I don't open my mouth. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, God is going to, he's never going to leave us hanging in our calling. You know, he is going to help us through every step of it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's a big thing that was placed on my heart when I was writing my book. You know, it doesn't have to be fancy. You just have to do it. Because in my mind, I needed years and years of experience, and I needed this and I needed that, and I didn't need any of that. It doesn't matter that I had a communication degree, even. I didn't need it to tell my own story. And it was a humbling. I didn't write mine as fast as yours. That's super impressive, especially because I know everything else that you do. What time do you wake up, Carmen? Let's talk about the morning. Do you wake up
5:50
early?
in the morning. I
Yeah,
have a routine.
I'm an early
I
bird
go
too.
to the
Me too.
gym. I
Yeah,
pray for family, church family,
yeah,
friends, anybody that needs prayer as
yeah.
I'm working out in the morning. Come back upstairs and, have breakfast. And then I even have more devotion time, a little bit before I start my day. But yeah. And then work with my husband. I run everything from home. He runs everything out there. So we're a
Let's
husband
talk
wife
about
team.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about what you guys do day to day, because you guys are co-CEOs, and I love that.
Yep.
So many times I hear of a couple that's doing business together, and the wife's handling one side of the business and the husband's handling the other, but it seems like you guys have kind of split it down the middle as far as leadership. So how does that work?
Yep. Well, basically, like I said, he handles all of the clients, our NPM team he works with out in the field area.
And you guys have
He,
a tree service, right? It's a
yes, a
Yeah.
tree company. Yep.
Okay.
And so basically, we specialize in tree removal, tree trimming, property transformations, and we also have now extended into skid steer work because we purchased a cat. Not
Nice.
meow, but like
Yes.
a skid steer
Caterpillar. Uh-huh.
recently, along with a trailer and a grapple attachment. So that's been really very helpful in
Yeah.
expanding our company and business. But so I handle things from the home front. So that means a lot of times we always use my number as primary so that because he's usually up in a tree. I joke
Yeah,
about that.
sure. Sure.
He's in
Yeah.
a tree. I'm here. I can answer the phone. When we get calls in, I'm able to text him immediately. And then, of course, when he walks through the door late, tired, because he always
Right.
is, him and the team, come through the door at night, he's always going to see papers laid down right on the kitchen table. We have a system. And I'm like, okay, these leads came in today.
Yeah.
These are the clients. They're either existing clients, they're either referrals from existing clients, or they're brand new clients from, Google, Facebook, Instagram, all that. So that's kind of what we do. And then I handle, as far as opening the books, closing the books,
Yeah.
I handle all the paperwork for our LLC. I do all the marketing and the PR work for our company. So I'm doing organic marketing out on the internet, things like that. So, kind of the
And
creative side, I suppose, at home, and the business side. I was a stockbroker and financial advisor for eight
that was my
years.
question. Okay.
That was with both Edward Jones and JP Morgan Chase
Got
combined,
it.
the 8 years. Um, I had a magazine article written about me, and it said I worked for, what was it, Edward Jones and then JP Morgan for 8 years. And I was like, well,
Oh,
it's almost right. So, no
right.
worries.
Close enough. Yeah.
Close enough. Yep. So I did
So,
have that business experience. Plus, I've owned 4 businesses in the last 12 years.
wow.
So, Genoa Denim and Leather Apparel being the first one, I
Oh, I
owned
love
with
that.
my friend Tracy Gallus. And she and I sold designer jeans and purses,
Fun.
authentic, not knockoffs.
Right.
And what we did is we just had this vision together that we wanted to bring fashion to normal pocketbooks. So we would buy at wholesale and we'd sell at
Yeah.
retail. Yep.
Awesome.
So that
And
was the first company. Then the second one was Carmen Maendel Photography. I still
Okay.
am very passionate about
Me too.
photography.
Me too.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Love to be able to take the camera and just go out and have time using that.
Yeah.
Um, and then the third business, of course, was Maendel Fitness. And it became Maendel Fitness Gym and Spa when we added on, God blessed us after craziness that I talk about in my book
Okay.
with the company, COVID, of,
Yeah.
having to shut down the gym for a year, all of that.
Yes.
After all that happened, we did get blessed with both a spa in the basement,
Wow.
um, infrared therapy, which is a
Oh
sauna, and
yeah.
then a 7-person jacuzzi out back. So
What?
all for
Oh
Maendel Fitness, yes. And then
my
right
gosh.
after that, this is crazy. Like right after all this has happened, this is how God works. My husband got this job offer outside of the area. And in order to accept that offer, he had to promise to put his home up for sale. Well, my company, Maendel Fitness, was in the basement. I did all the
Oh.
YouTubing, everything for that in the basement. So I
Okay.
had to shut everything down for Maendel Fitness online and the business. And then he worked at this position and found out it was not what he thought he had signed, it wasn't
Yeah.
what he wanted to sign up for. So he pulled back from that, and we did not sell our home. But then actually, God had me come up alongside my husband. We became an LLC and we started working Nate's Property Maintenance LLC together.
Oh my
So it's
goodness.
pretty amazing how all that happened. And I know this was a God thing because for the 2 months we had our home on the market, we had 0 offers.
Oh
The
wow.
minute we took our home off of the market, I had 2 people at the door as I was actually moving back into our own home.
Oh.
They wanted to put an offer on our home.
Oh my
Isn't that
goodness.
crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Is that where you guys live now?
This is where we live now. We have 5
Ah.
acres in Baxter. Yes. And
Oh
we,
my goodness.
yep.
Wow.
We needed the
So
5 acres to run our company off of, because we serve the Brainerd Lakes area, all in this area, but we serve it off of that. So yeah.
oh my gosh. So you go through all of these businesses, but first you start out as a stockbroker. So
Yes.
tell me what the leap, what made you take the leap, leaving stockbroker and then becoming a fashion person?
Yeah, well, okay. I need to talk here about kind of my philosophy of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship too. I had shared a little bit in our pre-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up in a very affluent background with
Okay.
my father being an orthopedic surgeon and
Mm-hmm.
doctors running several levels deep. Money was always a topic at our dinner table. So glad that also with that came the topic of having a good work ethic. So, from very young, we learned, we were in a home that was affluent. However, we did work in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in the country, so we worked with our
Me too.
cattle, with our horses, things like that too. So I start off there, and I witnessed my father becoming very wealthy in his profession as an orthopedic surgeon. And I'm like, okay, I'm right on that train. That's the
Mm,
direction I'm headed. That was all about the dollar signs, all about getting the degrees, going out, making
yeah.
money. That was my focus. And it wasn't until two that I realized that I did a complete switch. Like after this happened after I was a stockbroker and financial advisor, because I was doing that and I did that for 8 years. But when I came away from that, it's like God just showed me um, how I was viewing entrepreneurship wrong. It's
Hmm.
all in how you view it. If you view a company as it belongs to God, it doesn't belong to you, then all the ownership of it,
Right.
excuse me, what you make, everything is all, it's His,
Yes.
to give to you to have good stewardship for.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you a whole different view on life. As you're working with people, you are service oriented, you're not
Yes.
transactional based.
Mm-hmm.
That's something Nate and we connected very much so on that as well with business. And believe it or not, way back when we first got married, we talked about the dream of wanting to do world ministry together and also possibly owning a company together. So it's very interesting how that came full circle,
Mm-hmm.
and God blessed us with that opportunity.
Wow.
So,
A lot of obedience there, but also a lot of like being courageous. Like you've been fearless to obey, and that's scary when you don't know what's going to be given to you, but you just believe in the Lord enough to do it.
yep.
Um, I stepped out in that 2 years ago, and that's a different feeling. I did leave my job, my corporate job, 8 years ago, and I was in marketing, but I really felt at that time like I felt called to own my own business, but it wasn't from the Lord. It was just like I knew that I could help people more. I knew that I could provide more services. And so that was great. And I did that and it became successful relatively quickly. But that didn't fulfill me like what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
These passion projects that I'm doing, writing the book, which is my
Yep.
testimony, doing this podcast, those are the things that I was made to do. And it wasn't
Yes.
until I fully surrendered, which was only 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I think people stumble upon a podcast like this and they think, from the outside maybe, they think, okay, so somebody gets baptized and then everything changes. Well, you are a new creation, of course, when you get baptized, but that's not for me when everything changed. I was actually baptized twice, and I've got a long story we won't get into, but I was rebaptized, and still I didn't wake up the next day and everything was different. There was a long process of me maturing in my faith. I have a morning routine, much like you do, that really helped me create time with the Lord so I could have an actual relationship and not just like, let me pray before meals and let me go to church and, let me do the things that society tells me. And, those things, I feel like I don't want to say you shouldn't go to church or anything like that. That's not where I'm going with this. It's just that I feel like those are the smaller things in my walk now. Those are great. Community is important and it's all a part of the process. But now it is really my day to day, and that I get to have somebody that if I have an anxiety or a worry, because I'm somebody that definitely battles with anxiety a lot, and I have a place to put that. I have full trust that he will
Yep.
handle those problems for me. And if you'd never experienced that, I get that people are like, okay, so how does that work? You get baptized and then, for you to step out through all of these different jobs, to leave your home because, that's what you thought you were supposed to do in that moment. And then to be able to come back. I mean, there's only God can write that story. And one of the biggest things I have been saying, and it was words that were placed on my heart, just like the title of your book came to you in a dream. It was something that I woke up with one morning, and it was, God writes the best stories. I get the privilege of telling them. That's why I got into writing. I've been a creative just like you. Love photography. Had a photography, videography, like wedding business before. Wanted to pay off my debt. Went through Dave Ramsey. There's all these layers of the story. And, you and I are of a certain age, so it's not like we're a 22-year-old in here that's eager and just out of college. We've had those experiences, and we've earned, we both are fitness instructors too. So I love that. You were a personal trainer, right?
Yep. And I had
So,
my master's in nutrition and DNA
oh, I
testing and
love
analysis.
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
I get, like, here's the thing, guys. Like, I want to truly just take a second and thank the Lord right now during this, because I get to meet the coolest people because I was obedient to him. Like, I have a cool story and I've done some cool things too, and they're very niche and whatever. But like, I really am blessed by the opportunity to get to know people. And if I didn't lean into things like writing the book and obey, I would have never come across you, because I came across you through the process of writing my book.
Yep.
And so I was tired of sitting on the sidelines in a certain way. And I have a lot of friends. I live in the capital city of Missouri, so we've got like state offices here, okay? And I got a lot of friends, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's just not what I was called to. They are happy. They have a state job, and they've got a 9 to 5, and they are very fulfilled and happy, and they have low stress, and they, that's going to be the retirement. I knew from the time I was as old as I could give you a vocation, that was not going to be my life. I have had the entrepreneurial pull my entire life in some way. I just didn't always recognize it as that at that time. But looking back, I can see it all. So do you see that in your past too, of your young self?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, in my book, I write about the fact, I'll share one small little story.
Yeah.
Even when I was like 4 years old and did my first lemonade stand, and
Yep.
my mom would watch from afar and worried that the John Deere's workers might snatch me, you know, things of,
Right. Right.
things like that, or the kitchen table sale that you'd set up
Mm-hmm.
and you put all your stuff in, on a
Yep.
table, and then grandma and grandpa would come over and you'd sell your items to them, and
Mm-hmm.
they'd be good sports and buy them. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it started young for me. And we sold our vegetables at the farmer's market.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother and sister and I worked with another family, and we raised vegetables in our garden. We had a garden that was like an acre big. It was a huge garden. And we would, take care of the vegetables and then wash them up and sell them at the farmer's market. And that was when I was pretty young as well. So,
Mm.
yeah, I think just the entrepreneurial spirit started pretty young in me. I just think my whole shift of money and God and how I
Mm-hmm.
view,
Yes.
money changed later in my life. That whole flip. I call it the entrepreneurial flip.
Yes. And same
Yeah.
with me because I had a really strained relationship with money. And like many of us in the millennial generation that I'm in, we are drawn to worldly things and possessions because that's what we were told growing up. That's what
Yeah.
society calls us to. And so even though I had a strong background and, was raised in the church, I had kind of gotten off of the church path for a while and kind of just, become worldly in that way. And I accumulated some consumer debt. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, if you're not, this is available. This is the up, and it's available on YouTube on my channel. Um, I have my full testimony that I recorded last year, and I prayed a lot. It's an hour almost, and I prayed a lot on that testimony of what do I need to share in this room today, and what really was important to the group of moms I was talking to at that time was money saving, because when you're a stay-at-home mom, it can be challenging. You feel like you don't have that income coming in. And I was speaking to a room of mostly stay-at-home moms. And I realized it was healing for me because, first of all, I realized I was fully past my trauma with money. I got into some consumer debt, paid it all off, and hustled. But what happened for me personally was getting into that debt and not having my priorities in line with, God being in the center and me being a steward of the money, and then more of it will come to you. People don't understand that abundance will fly to you if you put God in the center of your business. Abundance will
Absolutely.
come your way, just like you talked about the
Yep.
spa. You will
Yep.
get blessed, and it doesn't matter if it gets taken away because you'll be re-blessed. Like, you will be so blessed by just allowing God to lead your business and your life. And it's hard to understand on the outside, but I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt. I had a business before that was marketing, and I have got a business now that's a different type of marketing. But one of the things that I love that was your reasoning, oh, sorry, the consumer debt thing. So I got into some debt and we needed to pay that off. But what happened for me was that spun me into the hustle culture because pay off debt, side gig, side gig, side gig, and then all of a sudden there's no rest in that. You're working on a Sunday, which is supposed to be a boundary. You're doing things that you don't want to be doing. And
Yeah.
so then again, I found myself, well, okay, so yes, I got myself into some trouble, but now getting myself out of this trouble, I caused new problems. And I could have just given all those problems originally to the Lord, and it probably would have been a quicker solution. But we are stubborn and we're human, right? None of us perfect. And so I want to, I delight in hearing your story, and I want to just humbly share our stories today with anybody listening, because it does not matter who you see online. We don't have anything fully put together other than our faith in the Lord. I can speak for Carmen and I when I say that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing we have put together. And
Yep.
we're going to be the best that we can be obedient. It's not always like sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, maybe that wasn't exactly what I was supposed to do, but you know what? It's just the next thing that matters. And so we move forward, and we spend that time. The key is spending that time with the Lord. And if you create that time in your day, for me, it's the morning, just like you. It's non-negotiable. I
Yep.
have to have that time. And that's going to make me a better mother. That's going to make me a better wife. That's going to make me a better leader. That's going to make me a better marketer. It's going to make me a better everything. And then if I'm starting with a full cup, I can pour out of it and not be depleted myself.
Absolutely.
And hear me when I say that, people. And I know there's all the analogies, and you can go on and see the memes. Don't pour from an empty cup. Well, that's biblical. You know, like our cups runneth over, and we serve others. That is, I mean, that is true. People can put a lot of things to the word Christianity and the word church and the word religion. They can put a lot of their own stuff, worldly stuff, even into that. But when it comes, for me, in my own experience, if I didn't have that time in my day, there's no way I could be obedient. And there's no way I would have been blessed with the opportunity to interview you today and have the time to write a book, because it does take a lot of time. How did God find that time in your life? You prayed to him about it. Yep. Am I supposed to do this? It was laid on your heart. It was laid on my heart so fiercely because I didn't really want to do it. I thought it was like not my time. And then it was like, okay, now I can't ignore this anymore. It's my time. Because I really thought, my daughter's 2 years away from school. You know, this is not the time. Oh, it was the time. So, and once I started, for me, it was like word vomit. I couldn't stop writing. And so I ended up writing 2 books because it was too much for one. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. Like, the Lord will bless you with abundance if you surrender and give that project, that business, your life, whatever it is, if you give that to him. And so, you know, here we are sitting, and you're busy and I'm busy, but we're taking time. And the reason why we're passionate to do this, I love, and I hear it just in your story, especially the 3 parts of the book so much. That last part, that is your life's work. That is your training. You know, that was 8-9 years of your life. And you are going to package it up nicely and hand it to people to help them. I mean, that's beautiful. And that's the human experience. And so as you prayed on that, and as that part of the book was revealed to you, is there like any takeaway that you just want to share today to inspire people to pick up a copy of that book, ebook, physical, whichever they prefer?
Well, just like the title, Cast Your Cares Upon Jesus, my life verse is Proverbs 3:5-6. I think I shared with you before. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all ways, not just some ways, but all ways. And he will direct your path. Yeah. And I really held on to that verse quite a bit. And I would just encourage anyone. I mean, God never promised us that we would not have difficulties in our life. Right. However, he did promise that when we have those difficulties, that he would be right there with us. So that is exactly what this book is about. It is sharing just how Jesus shows up and just the amazing transformational power of Jesus Christ. And I think anybody could benefit from this. Man, woman, child,
absolutely,
young person. Yeah,
you know,
literally, it's for anybody.
Like, I went through Tony Robbins' life coaching certification a few years back, and I just felt very called to do that at that time. And like, one of the things that he always says that I just lean on to is success leaves clues. So it's like, you want to learn from somebody who has the things that you desire, you read their work, you listen to them speak, you ask them questions. So here is 8-9 years of your life. You have a master's degree in nutrition. You've trained, you know, hundreds of women, I'm sure virtually, even on YouTube, more than that. You know, you've trained all these people, you have all these encounters, and you are diligent enough and a good enough servant to take it and package it nicely into like a digestible format for people. And it's like, if we don't, like, if there's something that somebody has and we don't take that time to listen to it, then to me, we can't complain, because we've had those opportunities. And I always say this in every interview of an author: we don't write these for ourselves. I don't write this for any kind of like critical acclaim. I'm not seeking to be on lists. I don't care. I found out a lot about some of those things. It's political. I don't like it. I'm doing it to help people, period. I love also getting to know people like you. That's a great fringe benefit of being an author and being in a community of lovely people. But I am not doing it for fame. Definitely not doing it for money. I am doing it because I was obedient to the call. And you had to carve out time in your day to do this on top of the other projects. This wasn't something where it was like, I have nothing to do this year, so I think I am going to pray to God and write a book.
Yeah.
You had plenty on your plate, didn't you, Carmen?
Oh, yes. Yes. I would develop little pockets of time
Yeah.
when my husband and son were out of the home,
Yep.
and like hour or two right there, and I'd just write.
Yeah.
That's how I guess I did
Was
it.
it therapeutic for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, some of it painful because moving
Yes,
back
for
toward,
sure.
and you'll know that as you read the book.
I can't
But
wait. I'm excited. Like, I'm truly excited.
yeah, the whole it's kind of neat because the whole idea too of the Maendel fitness is sprinkled within the book as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like, some of the tips, some of the strategies, getting over limiting factors,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Affirmation. I mean, some of those things I just, repeat, you know, over the book. You're going to see
Yeah.
them, and then you're going to see them in that third section too. But it's neat how it all comes together. I'm still looking at it. Like I just glanced over at my manuscript. It's sitting right here. It hasn't actually been published
Yeah.
yet and everything. But
Right.
I'm like, I'm looking at it and it's like this thick, and I'm like, how? And I remind myself it's not me, it's God.
Sure.
The same thing I could say with passing the stockbroker exam with the
Mm-hmm.
89,
Yep.
and series 63. That was
Mm-hmm.
not me. That day it was crazy. The Lord kind of showed me how to do that too. I
Yeah.
went in, I had memorized this big sheet, okay, of all of these different formulas,
Sure.
math formulas. And I memorized it in my head. And we had one sheet of paper we could use in the exam room. And for the first 15, 20 minutes, I scrambled down formulas while everybody else started the
Yes.
test.
Yes.
And so then I sat and I relaxed because I had
Mm-hmm.
it right next to me. And I went through, and at halftime, because this is an 8-hour exam,
Yeah.
at the halftime, I went to lunch and I let dogs jump all over me.
I
And then I
love it.
came back and it said, "Are you sure you're done?" And like some people are like, I'm going to change the answer here or there. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
boom, boom,
I'm
boom, boom,
done.
boom, boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
done,
Yep.
And,
Yep.
I look back at that same experience and I'm like, it wasn't me, it was God,
Absolutely.
because there's certain things in our life and that just aren't humanly possible, that we
Right.
know that higher power, for me, that's God.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously helped me with that, get through that.
One of the things, and I don't know if this resonates with you at all because I don't know anything about like your church background specifically, but
Hmm.
one of the things I talked about with Erica, and like Erica and Carmen and I all know each other, so if you guys are listening to
Yep.
the interviews back to back, we're all from the same, writers community and stuff, and I cherish that. And one of the things we talked about, because her book title has manifesting in it, the word
Hmm.
manifesting, and it's
Yeah.
very biblical. You and I both know that. We're women of the word. But people take words and they put their own connotations and worldly
Yep.
visions, and people
Yep.
sell things as manifesting and all these things. And so words can have multiple meanings for sure. Like
Oh
tons
yeah.
of words in this language have, so I don't get twisted and bent out of shape over stuff like that. But for you, one thing that I have struggled with in my journey, since you are such a strong person of faith, is I have kind of felt like I'm not churchy enough for the churchy people, but I'm not like woo woo enough for the other people. Like I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. And so as I became a boss babe, because when I started my marketing business like 8 years ago ish, it was that boss babe era. We were hustling. It was like, ladies first. And I'm not pro ladies over men or anything. I'm pro human.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to get to that point, like, because there was just so much I had to like unpack that just culturally was just placed in front of me just day after day, all
Sure.
these people I was encountering. And so do you ever feel like as a Christian entrepreneur, whatever word you want to use, just a God-fearing entrepreneur is what I'll say, and one that also runs your business with your husband, is it hard to like fit in to like an entrepreneurial networking event, or like how does that work for you guys in church, in the real world and stuff like that?
Well, we've got an amazing church that focuses on fellowship, um, in Pierce, FBC.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as far as fitting in, we are very connected to the
Yeah,
people there. There are not cliques at that church. I have
yeah,
experienced that before
for
at other
sure.
churches that we've gone to. But so I would say no. it hasn't been a struggle to try to fit in when you're accepted as who you are. And everybody is hands and feet of Jesus,
Yes,
and they have
absolutely.
different parts, and
Yeah.
everybody is gifted and, in different areas. So they, they're going to, be able to contribute in a different area than somebody else maybe too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And, as far as business, we obviously, our tagline is where service is more than a transaction.
Yeah.
And we truly mean that. We want to build those relationships with our clients. We want to have not just a transactional experience and never see them again. That's Nate and I both share that philosophy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how does that kind of work with your team? Because you have quite a big team to have a tree service, I'm sure. So how does that work?
Actually, we don't. We
Wow.
did have a big team 2 years ago.
Okay.
One of the things that we found is when we brought on a bunch of people all at once, there was a lot of camaraderie, there was a lot of teamwork, but it was a little bit chaotic.
Yeah.
So we actually have a smaller team now. We just lost one guy because he moved out of the area. Otherwise, he'd be with us right now too. So we have a very small team of just Nate and Andy right now.
Wow.
But
Okay.
they're doing amazing together. We may be hiring another person to be able to take place, but we found that a team of 3 is a pretty good, balance. And right now, a team of 2 is doing well with the
Wow.
projects that we're working on. So we also just recently purchased a cat skid steer, which helps tremendously. It
Oh,
takes the brunt
definitely.
work off of the workers, the heavy lifting, things like that. So
Yeah.
that helps.
That's such a
And we're,
blessing.
yes, an amazing blessing from God.
When
Absolutely.
people wonder, like entrepreneurs, because you hear a lot of business owners that are focused on money, and entrepreneurship is handling money. It is making money. It is so if you focus on the right things, then you'll be blessed with the things that you need. And it's awesome that how that can be taken out of your hands. And I didn't believe that fully for the longest time. I'm like, oh, I have to be in control. I am the business owner. I have to have the vision. Well, I don't. I'm proven, over the last 2 years, I have taken many a path, and I have proven that that is not the case. And the Lord will place it in front of you if the Lord wants you to have it. And that's just a powerful, powerful thing that I hope for everybody. That's kind of like that, what is that worship song? Is it Firm Foundation, where it's like, I've got peace that makes no sense. People kind of like, I've got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. And people can look at you and like, that is the Lord shining through. And that's the diligence to spend time in prayer. So I can't wait to read your book, because all the time that I know you prayed over it and that it was just kind of flowing through you. I felt the same way. It was very cathartic to write. And so much so, I was like, while I am in this mode, I'm just going to keep going, because I felt like it was, I was in the spirit, I was in the moment. And so, I just continued on. And one of the things I fought through, and I don't know if you have any words or thoughts, experiences on this, but I just like at the beginning, especially, you're sitting down and you don't have like I had the title. I started with the title, and I ended up changing it, and that was fine, because the book kind of took a different direction and stuff. But you're like, how do you get, I've had this asked, like, how do you get not just the time, because you said you had to carve out the time, which I did too. Before my daughter woke up was the main time that I wrote the entire book. So, it was the 5 a.m. club for me, for sure. And it was a labor of love, and I love that time of day. So I had to shift other things that I used to do in that time of day for that time, but it was worth it for sure. But like, how do you know that it will be well received? People asked me that, like, do you worry about that? Was that ever a worry that you had when you were writing it?
Not at all,
Same
because
thing.
it doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been obedient to share what I've
Yeah.
shared, and the rest of it, I don't know what's going to happen because I'm not God.
Yes.
I
And it
can't
doesn't
make
matter.
that prediction.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps asking me, what's next, Carmen? I don't know what's
Yeah.
next, because I'll keep praying about it. I'll keep praying with my husband.
Yeah.
I will pray with wise biblical counsel, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's next. So
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to tell people, what's next when I don't even know myself.
That
I'm
would have been if we were,
excited.
me
Yeah.
too. I'm
Yeah.
excited for your book, truly. And like, that would have been if we were in a court of law, I would have been leading the witness there because I was leading you into that question because I
Yeah.
feel the same exact way.
Yeah.
And it's like, we didn't write this because it was a thing to check off of a list. Oh, I want to be a published author. No, I think that's cool. I think I always have, I love books. And so I've always just, admired that.
Right.
And books have done so much for me too. I also just wanted to pay that forward. Things that I have learned from people who have taken the time and the diligence to sit in the chair and do the writing. I
Yep.
wanted to pay it forward because I finally felt the call to do so. I had something to say. I had an
Absolutely.
experience with the Lord, and I wanted to share what that meant and how that changed my life.
Mhm.
And but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the amount of copies. I'm excited to buy it, but it doesn't matter the amount of copies it does or doesn't sell in the first few weeks. The list that it does or does not get on. You've already done all of the work and it's already available, and that's what the mission was. So mission accomplished. And then if you're truly a servant of the Lord, you move on, but you don't know necessarily what you're moving on to.
Mhm.
I told you I ended up splitting it into two books. So I got those two finished. And then I
Okay.
had shared with you before the interview that my dog's not doing the greatest. And so I'm blessed to have a flexible enough schedule to be like, hey, you know what? I want to take some time before I really promote this. And I want to just be able to be here for him. And who knows? I would love to be used in certain ways. And I pray about that all the time. But that hasn't happened yet. So this podcast is super fun. I enjoy doing it in the summertime, and I'm just blessed for people like you that I can interview and learn about. But even that, I had no idea when I started it just a year ago in my basement how it would be used and how it would go through syndication. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And somebody that I know in my life, I told Carmen this earlier, somebody that I know in my life that I haven't talked to in 10 years forwarded my podcast on to a contact she had and was like, you guys need this on your station. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's God right there. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't do that. He did
Yep.
that. He placed that on her heart, and she was the person that needed to hear it because she had the contact I needed. And so he made that connection for me. And I want that kind of reckless joy for everyone, where you don't have to worry about the next thing because from a track record of living under obedience to the Lord that it's not going to matter because he's already got it figured out. And
Yep.
that is the only thing truly. I still struggle with rest because of anxiety and because of other like mental things that I deal with, but that is the only thing that brings me true peace in this world, is being able to know that I don't have control. And
Yep.
that's a different kind of level of living. And I certainly hope that through your book and your stories, people will be encouraged, and also they will find these things that they can incorporate into their life and level up, because that's the whole point, right? You're not
Yep.
writing it for yourself. You already did all those things, and those ladies, you already trained them. So, you know, you're writing
Yep.
it out of obedience to share it with others. And I love that you did this live interview because honestly, like, it was a nerve-wracking thing for you. And we can do hard things. We can do anything, right? I think there's some scripture
Yep.
about that. We can do anything
Yep.
through the Lord who strengthens us.
Yeah.
So you're a strong, strong lady. And I didn't know our fitness background until this morning, like until we talked this morning. And I
Yep.
love that. I do see, and I'm sure you do too, because I hang out with a lot of people that work out. I see some of the most obedient people are the people that do the hard things. So what's a thing, maybe not from the Lord, maybe it's not a book or a project, but like, what's a hard thing that's on your heart right now that you kind of want to try or just do? Is there anything, like, not a project, just like something in your life? Like for me, I got back into dance after a huge injury, and then I started weightlifting again, and because I had an injury, I really could not weightlift. And I rehabilitated last year, and it just changed. It's a night and day if you know the endorphins of working out. If you don't, get to the gym, guys. Like, I'm just telling you, it is such a
Oh, yeah.
like, it's such a fulfilling thing, and it's just like something that God gave us. Like, it's an outlet that we can use, and we can, like, not only just make our bodies better and more fit, but just our minds, and just that that can help calm my anxiety and my nerves and stuff like that. But is there anything hard that you have on your agenda that you want to do upcoming?
I would love to take piano lessons again. I used to
Yay! I love
play
that.
piano,
I love that.
and my sister did too. We used to compete in
Wow.
recitals. So we used to be really good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I went for years and years and years without a piano, and I can play a little bit when I sit down,
Me
but
too. Yeah.
I would love to have that skill again, and
Yeah.
even more so than maybe I was even skilled back then. That would just be a dream. And then my husband loves to hear the piano too. So,
Oh, I love
but
that.
I mean, we've now moved the piano out of our home, so yeah,
You get a keyboard, girl. It's okay.
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The
Not
Lord
quite
will
the same
provide.
though. I
It's
did
not.
have a keyboard for a little bit, and yeah, it's just not quite the same as a piano. But
It's not,
so,
but I love that. I just got back into dance and doing those things for our younger self too, like just kind of a healing moment. There's been so many things as I raise my daughter, and I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like, this is my chance to do it again too, like right along with her as, these little milestones pop up. And it's just been such a great experience. I had to wait a long time to become a parent, and that was hard wait, but I love that even just through her taking dance, that really inspired me. Like I sat in that studio so many weeks in a row, just her taking her little 3-year-old dance class. And I was like, I want to dance. I really do want to do this again. And then I kept in my mind thinking, will I be able to? Like, will I actually be able to do the moves again? And I mean, I'm here to tell you, Carmen, you're going to be able to play the piano again. I was able to do almost all of the moves again. It only took me like really a semester to get back into it. And sure, I'm not in the shape I was, as a youngster, but it's such a great challenge. And I think people that continually challenge themselves, whether that's in the weight room or whether that's in the boardroom or whether that's just in our personal lives and like something like writing a book, I just see this common thread through people. And Christ is definitely one of those things that I just want to share always because it's such a common thread I see in like amazing people and humans. But doing hard things and just believing that you can. Like that piano is, you're not too old for that. You can do it.
well,
I hope you do it. I hope the next time that we get to chat, and if you write another book or whatever is in your future, I hope that you're playing the piano and your husband's enjoying it. That would be an awesome way to spend your evenings, wouldn't it? There was a huge
yeah.
sense of pride that I had on that stage. And it was weird because in one of the classes that I took for dance, because you have a recital, right? It's just like piano, you got a recital at the end. And I was like, oh no, am I going to do this recital? And one of the classes, I was the oldest by a long shot. And I was just like, I am going to do this recital. And I just remember looking out at the end of my second dance. I did 4 dances. And my daughter was just jumping out of her seat. Like she was just so proud. And it's like, man, it's all worth it. The hard stuff, humbling ourselves to do hard things and to be bad at something again is such a blessing. Such a blessing. Being tired from something that fulfills us, like your job, I'm sure there are days when you and your husband are both very tired. But you're doing
Yeah.
what you're called to do, so it's a fulfilled kind of tired too.
Yeah.
Makes it all worth it. And all that time that you put into the book, and now you get to promote that. One of the things that I said to Erica, and I'll kind of, leave it at this, and I want to ask for a book recommendation, but, we do spend a lot of time, you did it quickly, but we do spend a lot of time writing these books. But it's like a birth. It's like you're putting it out into the world and it's like a baby. It's like your original work and it's a big original work, And so it's like a birth. So it's like I'm having a baby shower for you today. So guys, I hope you will bless her. And even if it's just an ebook, buy an ebook, guys. Like, come on, do something. Remind me, I have some of it written down here. I think is 9/9 your actual launch for the book?
Yes, for the
9/9.
paperback and the hardcover will be 9/9 of 25.
Okay, I love
Yep.
that. And then the pre-sale is going to begin this month, which is exciting. And you
Yeah, in
said
a
the
couple
ebook will be
weeks. It's a
available at
little
that time.
surreal. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
So it really is like we're having a baby shower today. We're celebrating the birth of something exciting. And what do we do for our friends, guys? We go to the baby shower. Do we come empty-handed? No. So this is a big reason and a call that I felt. I've shared with you before, and for those that don't know me in this way, I do coach people. I'm a marketer and a branding specialist, and I do coach people through a lot of things. And one of the biggest things I coach people through on a consistent basis is people exactly like Carmen that don't know they didn't come into like, they didn't get a broadcasting degree. They didn't sign up to be on Facebook. Like, they just kind of happened into it. They stumbled into it. They were obedient for her, she was obedient to a calling. And then now all of a sudden she's got a Facebook following and she's writing a book and she's putting her face out there, and it can be unnerving. And so just kind of helping people through that is definitely something that I do. And one of the things that I just want to share as part of that mission is, if you've got a friend that wrote a book, buy the ebook. Like, even if you don't buy the real book, like, bless them by going and leaving a review on their book. Heart their stuff. Show them your support. Because in real life, we've got these friends, whether they're church friends or high school friends. I got my high school reunion, my 20-year reunion this weekend, Carmen. So I'm just kind of all, a tizzy thinking about all of this. And I'm like, man, we should support business owners the same that we do ladies that have babies, because it is a lot of heart and soul and a lot of time that we put into these projects. So give Carmen a baby shower. Let's birth her book. I think 8/18 is your pre-sale. So yep. I will have a link in the description, and this is perfect. So this interview will be next week. So it will be right before the pre-sale happens. So, because we're recording this on 8/7, just for those of you listening. So go in, buy her ebook, and leave her a review. That would mean the world. That would just mean the world to everybody, because what that means is more people get to see it, because the distribution widens when you get things like reviews and clicks on Amazon. So if anybody's not aware of the system, I'm also an Amazon seller, and that's how it works. So support your friends, support anytime somebody's got something exciting and you would think about taking them a gift, think about giving a heart, sharing a video. Like, let's start let's start something here, Carmen, today. Let's have people be a little more social on social media, be a little more like they would be in authentic real life. And I've just so enjoyed this time in this interview. And I do ask everybody for a book recommendation. So a book that is not your own. We've already talked tons about yours, and I hope they purchase it, and I'm excited for your launch, girl. But what's a book that's made an impact on you that you want to give a plug to today?
I want to give a shout out to Erica Elliott. I wrote a foreword in her book for her.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And yes, and her book is amazing. It's called Breath of Heaven, yes. Manifesting God's Way. And it just touches your soul. It really is. It's an amazing book.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're getting emotional just talking about it. I love it. And I didn't know that you wrote the foreword, so that's super special.
Yes.
And can you just tell people?
And
really
she wrote a foreword in mine as well.
Oh, okay. This is so cute. I interviewed them in the same week, not knowing this, and I do know them both. But I didn't know I was interviewing them in the same week, and they wrote in each other's books. So this is so cute for us. I love this.
Yes.
I love that. Now it just makes me that much more excited. So okay. So how did you meet Erica?
I met Erica through She Rises Studios, through actually the Coffee Connect.
And that's how we met too. It's just a networking event.
Yep.
So we appreciate that, and we appreciate her diligence to a call of connecting women. And it's been an amazing community to be part of. But also, I just want to encourage people today, I think that social media and the internet gets a bad rap all the time, and there's all these amazing connections that are happening that you are missing out on if you're not leaning in. And so pray about it. I prayed a lot I felt called to write a book, and I prayed a lot about that. And then I just happened to catch up with a girlfriend, Nicole Curtis, and she's like, well, guess what? Here's where I work. And I'm like, what? Because we had known each other from a network marketing company way back when. And I was like, what? You do what? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I started out part-time, but now I'm, full-time. And I mean, it's just amazing when it's placed in your heart, God is going to create a path. And I was just so blessed by that connection and to know you guys. And so lean in online, do the uncomfortable things, do the hard things, because they turn out to something like this. And now we get to promote each other's books and truly be cheerleaders. And I think that if you would describe me, if somebody would just, somebody that knows me in real life, they would just describe me definitely as a hype girl or a cheerleader. And I love that I can be on the sidelines cheering for all these great authors and all these fun projects and these powerful women. So thank you. And I will also link Erica's book in the description, so that way they have the opportunity. And you already said your life verse, so we've already got that covered, and we talked a ton about business and faith. Is there any final thoughts that you just want to leave with before we wrap it up here?
I would just encourage people. Um, my saying in Maendel Fitness, and I talk about it quite a bit in my book, is
Good.
to never, 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 never give up.
Yeah. And honestly, there's a lot of times that I encounter people in what I do online that are close. There's just something about what I do that just makes people feel comfortable to like DM me and stuff. And it was uncomfortable at first because I'm like, I am not a counselor. And then I figured out how I could leverage technology and how I could get resources available. And people just want to be heard. And some people just needed to hear a little scripture. They just needed a prayer. You know, like that's all that's something that could change their day. And, you know, giving up is not an option, and there's always going to be a brighter day. I know it's hard some days. I lived in that. I've definitely suffered from some depression and things like that as I've gone through. And like, you know, you think back to like COVID. I had a baby during COVID. I mean, just all these things, right? And life is hard, but like we have to be tougher. And so that's why doing the hard things like working out and waking up early and creating time in our day for things that we feel like we don't have time for, that pays off when you have those hard days. And when you do feel that mental shift downward, it's like, okay, no, I can do this. I've proved to myself, you know, I did a 5K earlier this year, and a 5K doesn't seem like a lot, but guys, I had a blown ACL. It was huge. Like that was major. And I've done a half marathon before, but that was before my injury. And I just needed to prove to myself, nobody else. I just needed to prove to myself that I can do that. So we can do hard things, and never giving up is not an option, and keep going. If you're finding this at a hard time, just know that you are loved and you are chosen. And Carmen,
Absolutely.
I loved the entire interview, and I appreciate you, and I can't wait. Truly, I will be on the sidelines on social media cheering on your book. So
Oh,
you've
thank
got
you,
a hype
Kristin.
girl right here. I can't wait. I'll be sharing it, and I will definitely link everything that we talked about in the description. And for those of you that are interested in more about like, you know, not necessarily the tree service because I know it's locally, but what's the best way to reach out to you if they're interested in like questions or interviews, speaking, anything like that?
Yes, you can go to my website, the
Okay.
courageous woman, that's singular, .net,
Okay.
not plural.
Got
I'll
it.
make sure people got that.
Yeah.
And also info at courageouswoman.net is an email
Perfect.
that's
Okay.
linked all to that. And then of course we have natespropertymaintenance.com is the company. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Carmen, and you're such a blessing. And I can't wait to do a follow up and hear all of the ways that no matter how many copies it sells, you know, for me, like if it impacts some person, it's always worth it. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for your time, and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yay.
And just yay, go buy the ebook. Okay, I can't say that enough. Just go buy something, go click on those links and give Carmen some praise. Okay. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody, and keep looking up. Bye, Carmen.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Bye, Kristin. Thank you.